We pride ourselves in having a really good selection of really good quality, good fitting children's gear. So I'll just run you through all the different bits and pieces we've got to suit snorkeling, kids camping trips, kids that want to go spearfishing with their dad. So I'll start with wetsuits. As you can see, we've got a good selection of colours and long 3mm suits. They're really nice and quite slim fitting, so they fit the child quite snug, because when the suit's snug, that's when the child's going to be the warmest. They are in numerous camouflage colours, and we also start at quite small sizes. So this is a child's 2, and we go up to a 16, which would fit the child sort of yay high. We have a sizing chart on our website, so you can work out the best fit for your child, and we always suggest going up one size to what they'd normally be, just so you can get a bit of growth out of it. What we've also got is an open sail hooded vest that is to be worn underneath that suit for a bit of extra warmth. Hoods are good, but what they do is the skirting around the hood opens up the neck a bit and lets a bit of water in. So when the hood's attached to the vest, it means that their whole core is going to be really nice and warm and going to be stopping water from hitting their chest and cooling them down really quickly. So you have to soak these little vests up to put them on, and once they're on, this will suction onto their skin so they're not getting lots of water flowing through. And this little combo is perfect for snorkeling, generally around most of New Zealand, especially South Island in the middle of summer, North Island almost all year round. Another wetsuit option for your child if they get really cold or they are a bit more into their spearfishing and want to use a spear gun is our 2-piece 5mm suits. So they start at quite small sizes. This one here is a 4 extra small and would fit a child about 30 kilos. And the beauty of these as well is because they're thicker and they cover more of their body, you can actually afford to go a little bit bigger than you could with these steamer suits, as they wouldn't let as much water in. So the beauty of this is they've got a built-in hood. It's 2-piece. They've got the long johns covering their torso as well as the jacket, got their loading pad, they've got the knife pouch. They really feel the part. And we do have these in camouflage colours as well. When your child is wearing a wetsuit, they probably do need to wear a weight belt if they want to be diving down. Wetsuits are really buoyant, even thin ones, and it's not unsafe to put a kilo of weight on your child. So we have rubber belts, which have a really good quick release system for the child. You pop the pin in like this, and when they're wearing the weight belt, if they feel like they're in trouble, they rip this tab and then the weight belt falls off. So we suggest starting with perhaps maybe 1.5 kilo weight if the child's just wearing a little wetsuit like this, and it gives them enough so that when they're trying to dive down, it just assists a little bit. It's not going to mean that they'll sink, it'll just mean that it won't be so difficult for them to get under the surface. When they get to this thicker suit though, they'll need at least a couple of weights, but just start them with 1 or 2 and see how they go. If you're ever feeling unsafe, take one of the lead off and then they'll be okay. When it comes to flippers, we've got 2 options. So first, the smaller kids, we've got little snorkeling fins, and then for the slightly bigger kids, we've got these long freediving fins. And as far as long freediving fins go, these are a shorter version than what they normally are, and they're also a really soft blade, so your child doesn't need to be too intimidated by wearing long fins. I personally started wearing fins like this when I was about 7 years old. As long as they get the kicking technique, which is a little bit different to the snorkeling technique, then they'll be fine. And as far as fitting these goes, our suggestion generally, especially with small children that grow really quickly and these fins are a bit more expensive than snorkeling fins, is we put the child in quite thick booties. So you'd get perhaps 2 sizes up to their normal size, put them in thick booties, and as their feet grow bigger, you buy them a $30 pair of thinner booties every year rather than $150 fins. So you'd start at something like this with a bit of a sole to take up a shoe size, and then you could go down to just a pair of plain neoprene socks and the child will continue to fit the fins. We've got a really good children's mask and snorkel set. It's really hard just going to the warehouse and picking one off the shelf and chucking it on the child. Half the time the mask probably would be too big. If it's too big, it's going to hit their hairline and leak. and it's also generally what's called a Silatex or a rubber, which means that it doesn't seal nicely on their face, so it could leak, and also over time the rubber will perish. So we sell a really awesome little black silicone mask, and I even fit this at 28 years old. So as long as they look after it, it's not something that's going to perish over time, and they'll fit it till they're at least a teenager. So low volume, black silicone, tempered glass lens, and a really nice small fit, so it will fit them really nicely. We're actually yet to come across a little child that doesn't fit this mask. And what's also quite important is a snorkel. A snorkel's a snorkel really, however you need to make sure for children that you get a child's snorkel that has a small mouthpiece, because one of the problems is when you give them an adult one, the mouthpiece is so big, it hurts their mouth, it will rub on their mouth, and their mouth is stretched so big that it creates creases and could actually make their mask leak. So we sell something like this for $15, so they're quite cheap, and it just fits them properly, and also has a purge valve so that when there gets a little bit of water in there, they don't have to blow hard to get it out the top, they just do a little blow and it comes out the bottom, so it's easy for them to clear. The last thing that freaks the mums out a bit is spear guns. So there is no age where your child is ready for a spear gun. It's actually up to the parent's discretion. I again started using a spear gun maybe I was 5, 6, 7 years old. And my dad just taught me really simple gun safety rules. Don't point it at people, and once your child gets their head around that, and especially if they're diving with mum or dad, you can be holding onto the spear gun and directing it, so it's not something that they need to be a certain age to get to, it's really up to you. We make the child's spear gun with very thin rubbers that are really easy to load, because if mum or dad are constantly loading the spear gun for the child, we find they don't take much notice on what they're aiming at and will shoot willy-nilly because they know it's going to be loaded for them. But if they are loading it themselves, they're understanding the whole process of using a spear gun, they'll take their time, they'll aim at fish, and they'll just learn how to sort of do the sport properly. With our child's spear gun, as they get older and stronger, it's just a case of pulling these rubbers out and replacing them with something a bit thicker, and then you've got a more powerful gun, or an adult-sized gun. So it's something that's really easy to upgrade long-term as well.